Followed by the fifth.
Peace, family. my brother over there, my caca over there jamming, family. Hey. It's yours truly, Amari. I am the founder of Uwa Pele Movement. My queen, Amani Amari, is the co-founder. Uwa Pele is a Yoruba word for good character. And we want you to have we want you to have gentle character as well. All right, so we're going to get live on tonight. We're going to share some powerful information with you on this evening. We're going to share some cultural information that's going to help you. We're going to share information that's going to empower you, that's going to help you to have a better understanding about who we are. As we all know, it's about Kuji Chagali around here. We teach ourselves. We define ourselves. We learn from ourselves. We have our own kaka, which those you don't know, it's Swahili for our brother. Okay, we have our brother on here to be able to share some powerful information with us on this evening. So if you'll be so kind to share and invite at this moment, that'll be great. Again, share and invite. Also, let us know what city and state you're tuning in from. For those of you who have a business, please share your business information in the comment block. Remember, we're here to empower you economically as well. Uwa Pele Movement, we focus on your spiritual, your physical, and your financial well-being. So I'm going to give you a moment to share and invite, and let's get ready to go down on tonight. That's right. Get ready to go down on tonight. All right. Okay, family, just making sure everything is good on this end before we go live and direct on the set. Want to set things up before we go live. Want to give everybody an opportunity again to share and invite your family members in, invite your friends in. We want everybody to get this information. In the building is Dr. A.K. Tosu in the building. Dr. A.K. Tosu is in the building. Is in the building, family. We getting ready to go live. Our brother is straight from the motherland, from the Ghana area, born and raised in the culture, coming on here to share his knowledge and wisdom and understanding with us to help us to have a higher consciousness. So if you be so kind to pay him respect and share and invite. Sharing is definitely caring is not a cliche. We live by this every day. Okay, we share to empower. We don't share to be famous around here. We share to empower. We share for enlightenment. We share to educate. Bless up to my brother, King Kevin Doyle, author. King Kevin Doyle in the building. Shanrika L. Crawford is in the building. Greetings, peace and blessings. Queen Tammy Murray is in the building. What's going on, Queen? How you doing? She's an author. Tammy Buckley. Make sure you check her out. From brokenness to wholeness. Want to check her book out. That's powerful, family. That's definitely powerful. Check that book out. Go get that book. I guarantee you the healing will begin. Okay, family, we getting ready to get started. Habari Kaka, how you doing this evening?
Nzuri, Kaka. Nzuri.
You can hear me fine, right?
Yes, I sure can. I sure can. Well, first and foremost, my brother, I definitely greatly appreciate you taking out the time of your busy schedule to come on the program. Thank you so much for coming on again. Asante Sana, for coming on to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your understanding. Family, I just want to give you a brief background about why that I bring him on here. Okay. It's not about him, it's about the motherland. It's about us. It's about us interconnecting with who we really are. It's about refamiliarizing with ourselves with who we really are. I heard our brother speak at a men's event. Okay. And he had spoken on some points that made me start thinking. When I heard him teach, I began to meditate on the things that he said, and it challenged my thinking. What I became aware of is the fact that I wasn't aware. That's what happened. I wasn't aware that I wasn't in my right mind. Okay, let me expound on that, what I'm talking about. I didn't have the mindset of our ancestors before we were cut off from our culture. And so with that being said, I began to recognize, as I heard him begin to teach more, as we sat down and had our lunches, I began to recognize how disconnected I really was with myself. And I began to recognize I was literally out of my mind. And then I began to see that that's the reason why a lot of our people on a global scale, how we have a problem, because we have been disconnected from our mindset, from our culture, from our way of thinking, from our way of living and being. So my brother and I, we came together and we tabled a topic of discussion, and it's entitled A Cultural Reality Check, Moving Beyond Awareness to Application. Now, when my brother and I, when we met each other, I was actually wearing a suit. And it wasn't the El Kebelon suit like I'm wearing right now. Okay, I had on a collar, a European collar, you know what I'm saying, Eurasian collar. I had on a Eurasian tie. Okay, I was dressed up in clothing that wasn't even our own. Okay, and after I heard him speak, he spoke so eloquently and so passionately, and it was just laced with knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And it was spoken with such conviction and such power. Man, it convicted me. It convicted me in the sense of, wow, I put us last instead of first. Then I really started thinking about how I spent money. I put us last. I didn't put us first. And I really thought about how I wasn't practicing cooperative economics. So this brother that you see today, I'm in this mental state because I heard the alarm clock from the voice of the ancestors speaking through this brother that woke my consciousness up, and I became aware of the fact that our problem is that we're out of our mind. Dr. AK, too soon. Brother, take it away.
Take it away. No, Asante Kaka Tena. Thank you again, brother. Yeah, wow. Before I say anything further, I would definitely like to honor and give appreciation to those of our foremothers and forefathers, in now turned our honorable ancestors who have opportuned us to literally be here today in this position that we are. I would like to also give honor and praise to our elders who still with breath continue in the capacities that they can to guide and direct us, for those with us with strength in the context of youth. I'd like to also say Asante Sana to those of our brothers and sisters in the so-called United States of America and in the so-called conceptual Western Hemisphere for the tenacity and bravery that you have shown, that we have shown in the face of such degenerate associations with degenerates, in particular being the Eurasian populace. I would like to also thank those of our brothers and sisters who are at other parts of the continental world for the bravery and tenacity that they have shown and the patience they have really extended towards looking to humanize a people that cannot be humanized. But now, my good brothers and sisters, it is the time to focus on health of self and a collective as a people. From this generation henceforth. And in this vein, I want to thank you, Brother Amari, and your beautiful, as you put it, queen, for creating this opportunity, this platform for us to not merely dialogue or trialogue, but to exchange relevant information for necessary application. Okay, and that is the reason why we commune today. So, asante sana to everybody for making it in this live session, and for those who will be listening post this live session. And our trust and our charge is that with what is learned, is understood, and then is applied. Okay, so that's where we are at with the thank yous. I put it back to you, Brother Amari.
Yes, indeed. So, my brother, as you and I had discussed, we had a very in-depth dialogue in regards to people that they learn about the culture. You know, they visit the motherland, they learn the language, they wear the clothing, but there's no transformation. It's like the same thing when people went to church, the hypocrisy. It's like they're not actually embracing who we are in its totality as it relates to our spirituality, understanding the mindset. Like all of these things is just an appearance. It's like an illusion. It's a mirage. You know, some still have the Western, mentality, but they have on the dashiki. You know, they can say Hotep, they can say Habari Ghani, they can tell you who all of our scholars are. But what I'm seeing is that they're not beautifying the community. They're not making it more beautiful than it was before we inherited it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, let us go there, because I know that you had said you had noticed some things yourself in that regard, about how some brothers and sisters are, that they go through the motions.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, Ndugu, there is something called content, and that is the premise of which we will be engaging tonight. What is your content, and what is it filling, or what is it fulfilling? What is your content, and what is it fulfilling? We are looking at the context of, like, for instance, how we are dressed, if you will, the clothing which we have on. Is Al-Kabulan, is the signature of our container, if you will. Now, if you have a cup, or let me actually use this as an example. This coconut water that I frequently drink is the Vita Coco, okay? And I am commercializing them, right? So this Vita Coco thing, it has coconut water in it. That is the content of it. The label says Vita Coconut or Vita Coco coconut water. Now, I may drink this and finish its content, and I will put something else in it. Let's say orange juice. But the container in itself still states what? Vita Coco coconut water. But then when somebody partakes of the content in this context where it now has orange juice in it, they will find out that, hold on, this is not coconut water. Especially if they know what coconut water tastes like. They will identify it, the content of it as code, orange juice. So in that regard, that is what you find when folks are, as you put it, dressed in the Alcabulan clothing. Their container is Alcabulan, but the content is Eurasian. Okay. In the same regard, somebody who is of Alcabulan content will not be dressed in Eurasian container. They will not present themselves in that context because, like, for instance, if this is authentic coconut water that we look for others to consume, the labeling and the content must be right. Okay, so right now we are talking about a people who are more concerned about the container, but they are not looking at content, but it's content that which either malnutritions or that nourishes or does not nourish. And I think the word is malnutrition you. Okay, if it's not the word, you know what I mean. Okay, so then you understand that we have to focus on content, because the container then will be rightly labeled. But you have a people within a generational context of today, that is those in their 50s, their 40s, their 30s, if you will, who are so concerned about the container, but then the content keeps producing the outcome in which it's meant to produce. So again, if you consume of, I'll put it this way, something which is poisonous in content, which is contained in this container. So somebody who is wearing Alcabulan clothing, but their mindset is Eurasian, the partaking or the exchanging of that leads to what? Leads to harm, leads to poison, it's toxic. So that's why one would say, oh, but they are, quote, speaking an Alcabulan language, or they are what? Wearing Alcabulan clothing. But why are they so wicked? Or why don't they care about their people? Because their content is that of Eurasian, okay, training, that of Eurasian dispensation. And again, if your content is that of Alcabulan, you need not wahala about your container, because your container will be right. So we talk about now getting that content right and not posing that this is coconut water, yet it's orange juice, but rotten orange juice for that matter in there. All right. So that is what self-leadership is about. It's about being able. There are a lot of people who look to do and are doing, again, in all their sincerity, they are doing good things, but they are causing a lot of harm because they refuse to understand the fundamental of the world they've come to find and the content that occupies their faculties. I saw in the reading there, Brother Kevin King Kevin, a good brother, okay, he had put there that something about elementary school, and they
Yes.
taught us. What was that he said? Sorry, I didn't really read the full thing, but
Okay. I'm
what
gonna
was,
post. I'm gonna post that
okay,
statement up for you.
okay.
There we go.
Our minds and spirits were robbed from us in elementary school. So let's visit that statement. Who did the robbing? Okay, who did the robbing, and at what point? Because now we are in 2020. So if somebody has robbed, brother Amari, if I come to your home and I take from you, I only need do that once if you're in your right mind.
Yes.
But if I'm doing that, my sons and daughters are doing that to your sons and daughters and whatnot. We cannot speak of we were robbed. No. What we speak of now is we are so damaged that we need rectification. So it's no longer about the thief. It's about the one allowing the thief to actualize the thief's nature, in their auspice. So it's not a thing of, quote, elementary school as well. It begins in the home. There's a proverb, and I'll say it in three. Say a person is in Krofua, Chase or Omufie. That is, if you want to ruin a people, begin in the homes. So all these things about the school, the school is a place of formal socialization. But the formal socialization in the first unit of reference of a society begins in the homes. So it's not a thing of, yes, our minds and spirits were robbed from us in elementary school. No, we prostitute our minds and our posterity to the conditioning of degenerates. Hence, it's for us to reassume that responsibility. For again, it is not you, Amari, that you are concerned with what Agbekukwesi AK does when he comes and robs your home. I have to be very concerned that if I'm going into Mari's home, I will not come back, number one, in one piece. Number two, I may not come out at all. If that is not a concern of mine, then I know that I have control of your mind. And that is where a people of Al-Kabulan are. Protesting in the streets to who? To the very people who know that they are nothing beyond parasitoids. Complaining to the very people who know that theirs is a lived experience of what? Of serving as parasites to the minds of others. We are continuing again to ask the leopard not to be a predator. That is a fundamental sign of weakness. So what is those or we with breath? What is our responsibility? The first is to lend ourselves to understanding the world we have come to find. And then be able to understand the relevance of our lifetime. And commit to identifying what must become and then doing that which must become. Then all this other time wasters, the protesting. If you took time to study the world you've come to find, you will find that what is you are allowing yourself to participate in is but only a cyclical activity of the one who is not connected to the authority. Things have their place once upon a time, but we have to understand, like as a sister has put there, accountability. Accountability must be to self first. Mahitaji ya binafsi kwanza. Demand of self first. What you request, if at all, of others. Content. What is your content? Over to you, brother.
And family, this is the reason why we need literature. Our hero Lofi song. And this is a book of prayers in the Yoruba tongue. But check this out. A prayer to Baba Esu is, I pray you always allow me to be open-minded and open-hearted, light-hearted, immersed in the light of joy and happiness. A prayer to Iya Yamoja. Please activate your divine consciousness in me. Help me, Iya Yamoja, to transcend my subconscious thoughts that are full of illusions and wash it away with your healing waters so I may feel refreshed. Beloved, the truth within itself is not going to set you free, contrary to popular belief. It's not enough to know. You have to implement what you know, then you'll grow.
Wow.
So many people, they talk about Mayat. Do you really understand Mayat? Do you really understand the 48 laws? Do you really understand that? Many people quote, let your heart be light like a feather. But have your heart and has your mind been washed and cleansed and purged with moral teachings? Where does that begin? It does not begin in the elementary school. It doesn't begin in the nursery. Morals are taught at home. As I met my Kaka's Baba, for those who don't know, that's my brother's father. I seen how my brother here, my brother Dr. AK, how he interact with his Baba, our Baba, because we Kakas. And I seen the love. I seen the reverence. You can tell that we have been disconnected because of the way that we interact with one another as a village. You can see the disconnection. Beloved, I continuously say this, and I will say this all the time. We are out of our minds, literally. And we wonder, what is the problem? The problem is because we have been disconnected from our culture, and we have been taught that our culture is wicked. So we run. We run away from it because we've been brainwashed to believe that our spirituality is satanic. Beloved, in our culture, there's no such concept. Now, my beloved brother Kevin Dover, I love you. And I know you said they're white devils. There's no such thing. We don't believe in that. It's a negative elemental, a negative energy force, a negative mentality. They have been brainwashed. They're psychotic because they have been taught into that mindset. You live the way you think. So they react because of the toxic teachings that they have been taught, which is poisonous. And this is the reason why they spew poison, which brainwashes us. And that same toxicity has intoxicated us and has caused us to turn against one another and to commit suicide. Beloved, why do we complain about a blind man who can't see? Why do we complain about brothers and sisters who don't come back to the community? It's a difference between acknowledging the problem with them learning and not coming back than you complaining. It's a difference. Why would you complain about someone who doesn't recognize the manner of spirit that they are in? Such as you and I, who once upon a time didn't live this way. And we did not see that. I'll speak for myself, being a former drug dealer, being a former gangster, and who was not making my community more beautiful than it was before I inherited. I made it worse because of me being intoxicated with gangster rap. The weapon of mass destruction that we so embrace, that we hang ourselves with, and that we advertise. Why do we do that? Why do we embrace that which destroys us and embrace that which continues to wound us instead of embracing that which will heal us from our social ill that has been plaguing us for centuries to come? You know why? Because we're scared of the one who enslaved us. That's why. That's why. We're afraid. We're too afraid of rebelling. And this is the reason why our children will go right back into the prison that they call school. This is why. Have we not gotten tired yet of them continually teaching our children about their heroes who enslaved our ancestors? Have we gotten tired? Our children know about George Washington, but they don't know who George Washington Carver is. Our children know about Benjamin Franklin, but they don't know who Benjamin Banneker is. Our children know about their racist heroes, but yet we complain even about them not teaching our children economic empowerment, which is our responsibility. This is how you know that we are mentally ill. How could you think that someone who gentrifies you will teach you economic empowerment? How? Why? Why would you think that someone who would rather take your life care anything about your life? as our brother Dr. AK stated so eloquently, protesting. Beloved, I would like for somebody out there to show me the evidence of pumping our fists in the air. Where did it economically empower us? Beloved, I would like for you to show me where pumping our fists in the air, yelling out black power. And this is no disrespect to our ancestors. I appreciate everything that they did for us when they laid down their life on the line. But my question still stands. Show me where that fed us. Show me where that clothed us. And I can show you people who I taught financial strategies, and they use those financial strategies for them to build business-based generational wealth for their family. I can show you that. Show me where holding a sign in the air has saved anybody's life. Show me. Show me that. And I'll show you teachings of me sharing with brothers and sisters cultural information that has given them self-confidence to embrace themselves. And they in turn taught their family and broken themselves free from the Eurasian colonized ideologies. And they started businesses, and they started having in-house banks, and they started taking care of themselves. We are going through the motions. It's no different than me when I was in church, when the pastor says, go ahead and punch the air. When you punch the air, you're punching the devil. What? Punch the air. Everybody punch the air. Stomp, stomp, stomp on the floor. You're stomping on the devil's head. But they still walk out of the church broke. They still face eviction. Their children still go to schools that colonize them and brainwash them. Emotionalism. Emotionalism does not bring transformation. It is accurate education and the execution of accurate education that will execute the toxicity of the Eurasians intoxicating lies. Dr. AK.
Oh, wow. It must be understood, Asante Kaka, for that. It must be understood unequivocally that there are three and only three realities in this world when it comes to the cultural context of liberty. Again, it must be understood unequivocally that there are only three cultural realities in this world, and they are in this order as it exists in human history. Al-Kabulan, cultural reality. Asian, cultural reality. European, cultural reality. Again, Al-Kabulan, cultural reality. Asian, cultural reality. And European, cultural reality. The last two, we present them through Alkebulan precepts as Eurasian cultural reality. So we compound it and you understand it as the Eurasian cultural reality. And from this premise of reality, reality carries intentionality. Intentionality means purpose. Purpose. Purpose of engage. So, what is culture? Conceptualize it very, 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 very foundational for our brothers and sisters. Set of practices. That is what culture is. Set of practices. Then, what is tradition? Set of practices over a longer period of time. That is what tradition is. So, from the Alkebulan to the Eurasian cultural reality, if we talk about reality being purpose, carrying intentionality, what has been the premise of Eurasian interaction with Alkebulan? And that has been to what? To pray on Alkebulan in the context of what the Eurasian is deficient in. You see, my brothers and sisters, there is always a reason for an outcome. There is always a reason for a situation. And if you don't understand the reason, when you are a negative recipient of the outcome, what you will do is you will speak, if you will, or you will live out that which is meant to be within the authorship of intentionality. Simply put, you don't have to know the content I give you in something to be poisonous for it to have its consequential effect on you upon consumption. If I have authored something poisonous, all you need do is partake in it, and it will carry out its effect. I don't need you to agree or disagree with me. I don't need you to understand or not understand. The heck, I don't even need you to like or not like me, but consume of that which I have concocted, I have authored. You and your naivety, your ignorance is no immunity to its consequence. So what do we think of this mind? What do we think socialization, acculturation is about? It's about making sure the contents that which is within this faculty is that which serves the latter two cultural realities condensed as the Eurasian cultural reality. So, when you hear somebody with breath today saying that this is the black culture, or the African American culture, or the Jamaican culture, or the Ghanaian culture, or the Namibian culture, or the black British culture, all they are literally saying is that they are living a subset of the Eurasian. Because the Eurasian is the one who what? Formulated that cultural reality. And that is what we call within the Kabbalah precept a what? A survivalist cultural reality, or a survivalist culture. So now one has taken ownership and one has taken claim of the very thing that is toxic. So if you take ownership of that which is meant to harm, what is it going to be realized, or what is going to be realized as reality? Harm. So it's important to understand that within these three culturations, there are branches that exist. So yes, the Alkebulan cultural reality, that's why you find the different peoples. Within the Eurasian, the cultural reality, you find the different peoples. But if a cultural reality or a culture subset has been authored by the Eurasian, Jamaica is a Eurasian construct. It has nothing to do with Alkebulan. So you, as a brother or sister today, claiming the Jamaican identity, all you're saying is you endorse the Eurasian caricature of your Alkebulan faculty. In the same regard, on the mainland, if you claim any of those fictitious so-called countries, you are literally endorsing the caricaturing of the mind. Hence, that is what you have in the what? In the greater context of what? Of behavior. So how and why is this so? It's because of one word, my good brother. Addiction. People are being made addicted to the Eurasian substandard par-human way of being. It's an addiction. And from that is where we will give directives to begin to detoxify your mind, your faculties from that, beginning with narratives and symbols. Those are the two things that affect the mind. Narratives and symbols. Beginning with the our. It is our country. When you begin, and our late and great elder and guide, now an ancestor, Honorable Malcolm X said, our this, our that. When you begin to look at things in the context of our, you will but only find harm in the very things that are meant to harm you. And the beneficiaries of that authorship and their successors are the ones going to benefit while you are still claiming our. It's like, excuse me, a house, a help saying this is our house. In all contexts, you know that is not your house. You are the house help. But you still use the language our. But you don't even sit at the same dining table. But this is our house. That is how the Eurasian conditions the mind. But again, the Eurasian is so inconsequential. If you know who you are as a son or daughter of Alkebulan, you have to understand this.
We talked about applying what we learn. It is an oxymoron when you embrace a color as your people. When you say you want to rid yourself of the Eurasians' ideologies, you are actually contradicting yourself. Now, I know we've heard some of our elders and some of our ancestors, peace and blessings be upon them, say, you know, that we are black. That is not true. We all come from a certain sect of people. Me, the Akan, the Asante. My great grandmother is Tsalagi. It's the Eurasian who says Cherokee. The Eurasian says Seminole. It's not Seminole. It's Shemole. So we say these things unbeknownst to us in a bastardized tongue. not aware. That's not what we are. You have some people, and listen, this is not me complaining. This is me highlighting. I want to point something out to you. And this is a rhetorical question, but if you want to answer it, fine. Why is it that we will embrace a title that is not ours before we embrace a title that is? Why will you claim to be an American? I heard a brother say this, and I'm not making this up. He said, I'm American. Where did that come from? Who called this continent America? Where were we before this continent was named America? Who are you really before we were enslaved? So you have to get to the root of a thing to kill it.
Yeah, wow. 100%.
Once you find out where the sickness comes from and you have the remedy, you partake of the remedy. Why? So you can be healed from the ailment. So, being that we all know that we don't know who we are other than the continent we come from, what are we doing to mitigate that?
Yeah, wow.
What are we doing? Who has took out the time to research these titles that have been branded on us
Yeah, wow.
like cattle?
Yeah, wow.
I'm not ashamed to say that I'm not black. You have brothers and sisters and elders alike in the communities, no disrespect to them, but they will get upset with you and they will tell you, oh, you're running away from who? Brothers and sisters, study. Study. Research that. What were you before you were enslaved? That's who you are. Anything thereafter is a Eurasian construct.
Yeah, wow. 100%.
Hmm?
Yeah, wow.
Why do we run away from who we are? Because a lot of us are afraid. And I'm not beating you up. I understand. But I want you to think about this for one moment. If this truly is the land of the free and the home of the brave, then why, when we speak freely, we're enslaved? If they're so brave, then why they're so afraid of us embracing who and what we are?
Yeah, wow. Cowards.
Why are some of you so afraid to speak out against the persecution that we face? Why are some of you so afraid to embrace your culture? Embrace who you really are. Why are you so afraid of making your European so-called friends upset? Why those of you who are professionals like myself, who are in the so-called white-collar industry, why are some of you so afraid to make the European upset? Riddle me this. If you know that they would get upset at what you say, then that means that you know that they are not who they portray themselves to be. I'm going to say it again. Why would you have a sense of fear about someone who says they're your friend and they're for you? That makes no sense. That's an oxymoron. If they were so for us, the ones who say that they are, then why would they tell us not to address it, leave it alone? And being that you are one of us, why would you tell your own to be quiet and to leave it alone? Beloved, I'm sad to say this, and it's a sad truth. But you are a shook one. You are a wimp. You are afraid. And our children will continue to be in the grasp of our enemy as long as they have elders in the community like you. Your grandchildren will continue to be a slave. Your great-great-grandchildren will continue to be a slave until you get enough confidence and enough love and enough passion inside of you for you to stand up and to speak out against the injustices that are happening to our people. And until you as parents come together as a collective and start fighting against the curriculum, until you as parents come together and figure out a way to homeschool our children, they will continue to be intoxicated. And when they will be continued to be pushed around and to be bullied with no consequence or repercussion because you are too selfish to lay down your life like our ancestors did, who we champion so much. Like the Honorable Marcus Garvey laid down his life. The Honorable Malcolm X laid down his life. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad laid down his life. The Honorable Coretta Scott King, she laid down her life. The Honorable Betty Shabazz, she laid down her life. All these people who we celebrate and who we champion, Ya Asantewa, Queen Azinga, laid down their lives for their people. Why do we think that they did not disrupt the racist agenda? Why? Because he wasn't violent, the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Do you think that he did not disrupt the Eurasians' methods and agenda? He still fought, and he fought until he transcended into the ancestral realm. So riddle me this, beloved, and I end here. When are we going to be bold enough to fight so that the thousands of generations that will come after us will not be in the same condition that they're in now? Then when? Not later, now.
100%.
Kaka.
100%. And you said something so important that it must be again understood. I'm going to reiterate it. When Brother Mari talks of let your voice, if you will, be heard, Al-Kabulan translates that in the context of let your life be felt. Hearing or having your voice heard by your children is through the deeds of your liberty. You don't give two hoots. You shouldn't give two hoots about speaking to, again, recessives. The faculty of recessives do not deserve your indulge as sons and daughters of Al-Kabulan. Yours is not to tell them what they are doing wrong. When pineal glands are calcified, yes, they lack immoral, or they lack moral, if you will, capacity. That is truth and fact.
Evil.
But again, it's not about a recessive, a degenerate. It's about you not knowing who you are, what you represent. And it's not the recessive or the degenerate that is going to bring that knowledge to you. What more, it's not going to be the recessive or the degenerate and or their appeasers or apologists and admirers who are going to partake in any significant growth on your behalf for you. So our brother said, why then the stagnation? And as he purported also, simple, because one has been made a coward unto themselves. But there is courage to do everything else beyond what must be done for self. For self meaning as far as I, you, and the collective. That is what I'm talking about when I speak of self. Ubuntu. Ubuntu, umuntu, agabantu. I am because you are, and you are because we are. Akans have it in the same denomination in the reference in Kabon. Collectively together. The whole represents us. It's important that the only way to begin moving beyond they did this, they did that, to speak of the inconsequential, recessive, degenerate faculties that exist, that we exist in the same space, but we don't share the same reality. But obviously, yours will be a manifest of their conjure if you want to claim ownership of that which you are not. So, Brother Agbekukwesi, then, what am I? Begin with what you are not. That's where you can start.
Evil.
Begin with what you are not. You are not a color code. You are not a country. You are not a diaspora. You are not all this nonsense.
Right.
How dare we reference our seeds from our loins and our wombs as the level of baby goats in the context of kid? Do you understand the vibration of the word kid? That is a dehumanizing terminology. And again, you need not agree or disagree, but consume and you will see its effects. Then when you have the young ones running around with no utaratibu, no order, and then you are telling them things for the 1,000th time. You think when you told them for the second, third time, they were listening? So now you're talking about you telling them for the 1,000th time. That means you are disconnected from your right faculties. Why? Because you admire the Eurasian. You admire the stabilizer of families to mimic a home after. Just think about that. If we care to think, those who prey on the sanctity of the household, those who destabilize families, are the ones you say you want to model your home after. You don't need to know what to do. Begin by knowing what not to do. Begin by knowing what not to do. And it meaning the life that has to be inherited, must be exemplified. And there should be no more talk. No more talk, no more act of the Eurasian has done this, that's what they do. That is what they do.
Yeah.
Theirs is decadence. Theirs is destruction. Theirs is viral. They're a virus. So why the indulge in the obvious? It's like, 5 plus 2 is going to equal to 7. 4 plus 3 is going to equal to 7. 6 plus 1 is going to equal to 7. 7 plus 0 is going to equal to 7. Those different variables lead to the same outcome. So with any Eurasian activity, is going to always lead, when it's concerning Al-Kabulan, to Al-Kabulan what? Detriment. So what partnership are you looking with the Eurasian, brothers and sisters? What partnership? What is there to negotiate? Begin to learn about your worth, your value, which they ride, which they need, which we give to them. When someone needs you, the first thing in order to use you against yourself is to think you need them more, or you need them. But actually you don't. I like to give the example of the horse. Huh, brother man? Does the horse need me? No. I need the horse. Why? Because I lack the competency which the horse provides. But before I can literally gain control of the outcome that I want to realize, I have to what? Break the mind of the horse. I have to take ownership of the mind. So literally, it starts with the mind. So when people talk about, quote, enslavement and the like, enslavement was an approach to mind control. It was a methodology for a purpose, for mind control. So being literally in chains, being put in chains by some heinous entities, being kidnapped, adopted, and the like, children being molested, and all this stuff. This is who you admire. That is who you are proud of to look to, like our brother Mary put, build an economic stronghold with that kind of mindset. That's exactly what then you will be doing to your brothers and sisters who you see the same as what? As nothing, because you see yourself as nothing. So when people talk about, oh, look at what the leaders of Africa are doing, and like, what leaders? Those are not Al-Kabulan. Those are Eurasian house boys and house girls. They are nothing to do with Al Kabulan. But yeah, wow. Understand this and understand this well. That Al Kabulan leadership is being nurtured, and we are going to ensure that those brothers and sisters of right-mindedness are ushering in the future that will become for a people. Because my goodness, you have to care more about a life beyond your lifetime. And hence, with that, you move with a sense of urgency, knowing who matters and who doesn't, knowing what matters and what doesn't. And yours is not to be looked to be liked by who? The very people who are anti-humane, anti-life, anti-health. To be liked by them? You only do so because you depend on them in one capacity or another. So what are you doing to castrate yourself of that dependency? That's the only reason. But nothing.
I say, oh. And we're ending on this note, family. We thank you all for tuning in on this evening. Thank you so much for those of you who hung in there. Queen Shamrika, Queen Rose, my Queen Amani Amari. Thank you so much for my queen, woman of my dream, and all that's in between. You know what I mean? Really appreciate all your love and support. And wanted to read this from Brother Gregory Jenkins before we close. He says, there is a time frame in which the content and containers should line up to someone analyzing them both. When one is searching for their connection but has not graduated in this university of life, it is fair to hold them accountable to a graduate if they are just freshmen. The great things about this platform, it opens the dialogue to greater insight as to what the substance of our content should be. Beautiful. All praises, brother. You know, we give thanks for that. Beautiful. So again, you know, Dr. A.K. Tusu, thank you so much, Kaka, for coming on. Asante Sana, Kaka. Greatly appreciate it. Oh, wow. And we're getting ready to tune out here. Is there any information you want to share with anybody in regards to how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, I will answer that question through that last statement, and there were questions in there, but there's one thing that I want to state in there. Number one, there's no getting a hold of me, okay? Because it's not about Agbegukwesi initials AK. You'll never get a hold of me. You will definitely understand what needs to be done in directives that will be given through different good people who are serious about the people of Al Kabulan. So, like for instance, my brother Amari, if there are certain things that I'm engaged in and the like, through his platform, he will be able to disseminate it to you good people out there. And in that regard, our brother had a question in that last statement that, quote, is it fair if somebody is a freshman in their seeking knowledge or certain context of information to hold them accountable? And I will say this to beyond that question to him, to everybody. This is not about fair or not fair. This is about what is necessary. And yes, you are held accountable to any obligation that you commit yourself to. And that is something that you have to understand, that there is no level of quote, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and there's no graduation in this process of restoration. There's no duty to commitment. So yes, if I commit in any capacity to do anything for a people beginning with self-rectification, my goodness, brother, sister, hold me accountable. Okay, hold me accountable so that I can take care of what must be taken care of so that I can move to the next stage. Okay, so it's not about fair or fair. It's not about convenience or not convenient. Al Kabulan looks at what is necessary and getting to it. Pamoja, together. Sawa sawa? Yeah,
sawa sawa.
Asante, asante kaka.